Good morning and welcome to this week's episode of Get Hooked on Strategy with me, LT. This is the weekly check-in where we spend about 5 to 10 minutes just talking about what we have on our planning calendar and keeping strategy in the forefront of our mind and turning strategy into habit rather than a chore. So we want to have fun with this. And so every week you can check in with me and my frog on my head, this side, and have a look at what I'm doing and borrow and steal whatever you like. I share all of the tools and templates that I mentioned and companies that I work with and use in the description on YouTube, where this will be shared by tomorrow within 24 hours. I'm using Big Marker to do my webinars and my recording. I absolutely love them. I've used a couple other website hosts and obviously have attended lots of them. And this is like where it's at. They have awesome customer service and all of the tools work well and it looks nice. So if you're looking for a webinar solution, I would highly recommend them. You might also see this week I'm wearing a GovLoop t-shirt. If you happen to be in the government sector, I highly recommend that you follow GovLoop. They share tons of information about everything from strategy to employee management to industry norms and white papers, trends, and they also give out these awesome, super comfortable t-shirts. And I got this for being a blogger for their blogging program, featured blogger for a couple of weeks. And it was totally worth it. Anyway, on to what we're doing today. I'm just going to share some productivity tools. If we pop over to screen share really quick. And I also, as usual, want to start the timer so I don't go too long-winded here. And so I'm sharing my screen. We're going to look at the Google Calendar, which I failed to put up right away. As you can see, I have lots of calendars. This is one of the best productivity tools that you can have. If you don't have a strategy calendar associated with your strategic plan, you're missing out. If you don't have a calendar associated with your social media, you'll see I have a social media one and everything is in red. It's hard to stay on track of social media. And that is all part of your strategy. That's a lot of connecting with your people. So calendars and prioritizing events, entering key dates with reminders. That's a huge productivity tool. And what are we talking about when we talk productivity, especially when associated with your strategic plan? Well, we're basically talking about anything that keeps you on track, reminds you of key dates, and is associated with prioritization and makes things easier, faster, smarter for you. So that can be a lot of things. And I want to talk about what we've already seen in a strategic plan. One of the biggest tools you can use is something like this that walks you through and has a diagram, a list of dates, when are you supposed to be doing things. And then, like I said, this is really nothing if it's not tied into a calendar or something with reminders, because I may go month, 6 months, even a year without thinking about this. And if an entire year goes by without doing this, you are not operating in the world that we live in today as far as business and being flexible and quick to react. And even better than that, being proactive rather than reactionary. And something like this will help you do that. There's other tools out there. This is what I use. It's free. And so one of the things that I want to then point out is the prioritization matrix, what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. And that is where we're really looking at all of the potential projects that we have and ideas and things that we want to turn into reality and prioritizing them. Prioritization is probably the closest best thing tied to productivity, because if you are working on a list of things that haven't been prioritized, a random to-do list, for example, you could be spinning your wheels doing something that is not relevant in the next month or two or the next year. Making sure that you following something that you have purposefully put together and put in order of importance will help a long way in not wasting time doing things that don't provide value to you, or, like I said, become irrelevant in the future. So some other things that I use Trello. Another shout out here to a great program. Trello is a boarding program, and it's kind of like a brainstorming mind mapping tool all built into one, and you can create several different boards. I have one for each of my different lines of my company, so to say, and also for my communications plan. And this allows me to do a lot of things, and one of them is to write down any ideas that I have and put a to-do list, and then that then goes back and incorporates back into this prioritization matrix list. I've already completed this for this kind of quarter. So if I come up with something, I put it here. If I have something I want to do immediately and I can justify it, I will do it. But if it's something that needs to be weighed out and then look to see what is of higher importance to something else, as far as funds, budget, resources, then it goes into this list, and we'll come back to this in the next go round. A couple of other things then, kind of spreading out away from the strategic plan itself and projects, are the things to implement those projects. So at the end of this, we start with an action plan, and you could be using project management software. This is basically your profile of the project, who's going to do what and when, and then also the different resources that you need for it, what's going to be challenging, what do you need to know that you have to then put these key dates on your calendar. So it all ties back to that. And a lot of the steps you might have in a project, or even your day-to-day social media, you have automation software, and those things. I use a combination of QuickBooks for my finances and my simple business account so that I can record my receipts. I use a CRM called Agile, and I find it very simple to use. There's lots of other ones out there. Some of the bigger ones are like HubSpot or Constant Contact. There's a difference between a CRM though and an email managing program, and I use Mailchimp, and that's where you're collecting your customer data and having kind of like automated emails going out. And so for me, that's something that I need to work on. I have, it's not necessarily an action plan, but it's something I need to include in my IDP, which is my personal learning plan, is how to automate some of that stuff better. And that will help me with my productivity. So I use Canva. It's an online software for doing designs. It's easier and way less of a learning curve of trying to learn something like InDesign. And what else am I using? I think I've thrown a lot at you. So if you are using, so what I want you to do for homework, let's back up a second. Homework for this week then is to list all of your productivity tools, everything that you use, and then kind of evaluate whether you're doing a good job with them, or if you need to be doing a better job. Is there something that you need to learn? Make a list of your financial productivity tools, your social media productivity tools, your strategic plan-based tools, and then what is it that you're missing to make it actually work for you? Because a productivity tool that you never actually learn is going to be more work for you as opposed to less work for you. So that is the homework for this week. Next week, jumping back on the calendar, we have nothing big standing out. I have to check my my own personal plan really quickly. Nope, I have some social media things. I don't really have any action plan related things. So what I do want to work on is my results, how I record the things, like the number of attendees in a webinar or something like that, my KPIs, my key performance indicators, measures, and review those. So when we don't have a week, when there's a step to be had in the strategic plan, we still check in, we still make improvements, and that's what's really going to continue to drive us forward. So I'm going to make that the topic for next week. And I hope that you have a great day and move on with implementing your strategy. And we'll see you next week.